She was the queen of the Grand Bank schooners, a racing champion, and a symbol of pride for the people of Nova Scotia. Yet mysteriously, her glory faded, and almost forgotten, she died upon the jagged reefs of Haiti. In an attempt to unravel myth from reality, the sea hunters plunged deep beneath these Caribbean waters in a hunt for the last resting place of a Canadian legend, the schooner Bluenose. With over 100 million books in print, Clive Custler is the Grand Master of shipwreck tales and adventure. Director of the Vancouver Maritime Museum, James Delgado is one of the world's foremost marine archaeologists. With over 20 years diving experience, Mike Fletcher is an internationally renowned dive master. Leading the Econova dive team, John Davis has coordinated shipwreck searches around the globe. Together, they explore the planet's last frontier in search of true adventures with famous shipwrecks. They are the Sea Hunters.
Few vessels in history capture the imagination of an entire country. The Canadian-built Bluenose was just such a vessel. Built to fish the unforgiving waters of the Grand Banks, the schooner Bluenose became the undisputed racing champion of the North Atlantic and the pride of a nation. Her name and legend became known worldwide. Yet, despite all her glory, her final days were spent as a common tramp freighter. She ran aground on a Haitian reef thousands of miles from her Nova Scotian home, her bones forgotten and unmarked. Her wreck site, if it can be found, has tremendous historical significance. Now join us as we search for the final resting place of perhaps the fastest fishing schooner ever built, the queen of the Grand Bank schooners, Bluenose.
This is Haiti, steamy and mysterious, a country tortured by its past and by its present. Some say that here is the dark place where the devil hides from the eyes of God. They say that's why the famous racing schooner Bluenose sank off Haiti's coast. She had sailed too far from God's watchful eye. On the night of January 28, 1946, Bluenose smashed on a reef near Île Vache off the Haitian coast. She sank beneath a shadow of mystery.
Guys, a ship as famous as Bluenose, what's it doing down in Haiti?
They sold her.
Sea hunters James Delgado, John Davis, and Mike Fletcher meet to plan the expedition that will have them search for the last resting place of the famous Grand Bank schooner, Bluenose. The ship, sold by the Canadian government to be used as a transport vessel during the war, is known to have gone down near the small Haitian island of Île Vache, somewhere on a reef called Mad Reef. According to the locals, the ship was salvaged and the engine pulled out and used in a sawmill. The stories say that the masts from the Bluenose may have been used in a church. They have decided to send veteran shipwreck hunter Rick Haupt and his dive team down to Haiti to search for the wreck and explore the island for various artifacts. The search area is known to be loaded with shipwrecks, so the challenge the team will face will be to distinguish the Bluenose wreck from other shipwrecks of many different eras.
The key to finding Bluenose is going to be picking that search zone and systematically searching it and getting all of the data, everything that they find, back to me to look at.
To help him do this, Rick will transmit images of the wreck site back to archaeologist James Delgado for a more definitive description.
Just what it is and where it's situated on the reef.
With that kind of feedback, we're going to be able to tell the final chapter in the story of the Bluenose.
Because this is a story that should be told.
Yeah.
The first challenge in a hunt for the Bluenose is finding passage to Haiti. The sea hunters dispatch specialist Rick Haupt and his team of divers to the Caribbean. He assembles the team at Ocho Rios, Jamaica. From there, they'll sail to a small island off Haiti's coast called Île Vache. Rick has worked with the sea hunters on several expeditions around the world. Bruce Leeming, a longtime searcher for Bluenose, has sailed from Key West, Florida to join the team in Jamaica. Like the rest of the team, Bruce and his first mate, Glenn Barrett, are anxious to get sailing. But there's a problem. Rick Haupt has been trying to charter a second dive boat for the expedition, and so far there have been no takers. Even Everett Heron, the team's local contact, cannot get a charter. When charter captains hear that Haiti is the destination, they back off at once. Sailboats have been stolen along Haiti's shores, and they fear for the safety of their vessels. That has Rick and the rest of the team even more worried about this expedition. At last, they get a charter. It's called the Free Spirit. It's a good name for a dive boat about to take a big risk by sailing to Haiti. There's a catch. It will take 2 days to refit the Free Spirit and overhaul the engines for the long sail to Haiti. The team will use the time to check their dive equipment before they depart for Haiti and Ile La Vache. This preparation dive will take the edge off waiting. Besides, they'll be diving one of the most beautiful coral reefs in Jamaica. Bob Gerton, the team's above-water cameraman, is the first in the water. The water is warm and crystal clear. The sea is calm. What better way to while away the hours of waiting? To test their camera gear in preparation for the trip to Haiti, they'll shoot some footage of the reef. Any technical problems that arise can be dealt with much more easily here than on the far-off island of Ile La Vache. They're all professional divers, and though they know the delay is to their benefit, they are anxious to get underway, to get wet, and to get searching for Bluenose. They follow the trail of sunshine down to the coral reef, which is a riot of color and textures. Compared to many other reefs the team has helped monitor on videotape, this reef is healthy and thriving. A school of silverfins dance in the diffused sunlight, catching the rays and throwing them back. Rick follows a sea turtle. The turtle is a good sign of a healthy reef. It is a lumbering creature on land, but in the water, the turtle has a gliding elegance. Just off the coral reef lies a shipwreck. It's the wreck of the tramp steamer called Charlotte. Diving a shipwreck is a grim reminder of the danger of sailing the Caribbean. There are still uncharted reefs and shoals in the Caribbean, and always the threat of a sudden storm. Then there's just bad luck, which is something Rick does not want to think about, not when he's about to lead an expedition to one of the most unlucky places on Earth. Haiti's shores were unlucky for Bluenose, like Jamaica's were for Charlotte. Over the years, Charlotte's steel-hulled vessel has become an artificial reef and home to any number of tropical fish. Diving this wreck is fascinating, but it hasn't taken anyone's mind off the purpose of this expedition and the danger they face. The equipment test completed and the dive vessels loaded, the hunt for Bluenose moves on to the next challenge: crossing the Strait of Jamaica for Haiti. Each member of the team knows what tomorrow brings. The long crossing of the unpredictable Jamaica Channel between Jamaica and Haiti, and then a long underwater search off the coast of a country beset with political turmoil. Tomorrow, the team goes for Bluenose. The Sea Hunters have also invited along Dr. Chris Harvey Clark, a marine biologist. He's also a vet. Because of the absence of medical facilities on Ile La Vache, Chris will have to do any doctoring that needs doing. The team divides provisions between the two boats, Pocket Change and Free Spirit. Chris Dave Harrison and Everett will sail on the Free Spirit, while Rick, Dave Gaudette, and Bob Gerton settle on board the Pocket Change. They cast off under a clear sky, but as everyone knows, anything can blow up in the Jamaica Channel. Bruce Leeming set sail in Our Heritage 2 hours ago. It will take him longer to sail across the channel than the diesel-powered dive boats. This expedition has each member of the team chasing a dream. They're in search of Bluenose. Each one of them know the story of the great schooner by heart. The Grand Bank schooners, fore and aft rigged on 2 masts, were strong, sturdy vessels able to carry large loads of salt fish and maneuverable enough to survive the storms and squalls of the North Atlantic. These wily captains would race these sleek vessels through all weather to get to market first. Out of this rivalry was born the International Fishermen's Race, an annual event which pitted the fastest of the U.S. schooners against the best of the Canadian fleet. And for 18 years, the race belonged to Bluenose and her beloved captain, Angus Walters. Walters' ability to coax unmatchable speed from the schooner was legendary. Bluenose became a symbol of the heart and soul of her Nova Scotia home, a symbol adopted by the entire nation of Canada. Today, an exact replica of the original, the Bluenose II, sails to remind us of her majestic legend. The Jamaica Channel is like a maelstrom to cross under sunny skies. There are lots of crosswinds and swirling currents. A sudden storm makes the crossing worse. There are storm clouds to starboard. That's not good. By the way it's building, the team could run that storm within minutes. Looks like it's time to pack away the camera gear and batten down for a rough ride. Sudden storms are common in the Caribbean, and this one blew up very fast, and it's strong. So strong, the storm has turned a 16-hour pleasure cruise into a 36-hour nightmare. The storm has separated the 3 far apart. The many small unnamed islands in the channel interfere with communications between the boats. It's been hours since either dive boat has heard from Bruce Leeming in the sailboat. Everyone is sick and anxious to make landfall, even if it's here on the perilous coast of Haiti. The serrated mountains are a welcome sight after a rough time at sea. Pocket Change cruises the southern coast of Haiti on the way to Ile Vache. This is such a fitting time to arrive at this romantic and mysterious island. For centuries, Haiti and its islands have conjured images which are cruel and beautiful, blood-smeared and mystical. This is a place of voodoo-inspired rituals and drums in the night. Haiti is 80% Catholic, but Haitian folk expressions say it is 100% voodoo. The Free Spirit has made it, but Dave Harrison reports no word from the sailboat Our Heritage. After 36 hours at sea and roughing out a storm, everyone is a bit worried about Bruce in the sailboat. Where is he? And is he all right? The storm caused the team to use more fuel than anticipated. They also need to top off their supply of fresh water. They unload to square away the gear and settle in. This protected cove is where the famous pirate Henry Morgan had his hideout. One of his pirate ships accidentally blew up and sank not far from this wharf. In some ways, the island is much as it was in the days of Henry Morgan. There are no roads on Ile Vache. There is no electricity, no television, no telephones, no indoor plumbing. For hundreds of years, the people of Ile Vache have made their living as fishermen, casting their nets for whatever comes their way. For the people of Ile Vache, tomorrow is another day to chase hunger, and to hope beyond hope that the day after and the day after that will be less starved for their children and their children's children.
Oui, nous aime pas
The hardness of the life is in the faces of those who live it. Grinding poverty is heartbreaking. Yet the people survive. They make do with what little they have, though they know poverty to the bone. Those who make their living from the sea share a common heritage and a knowledge which dates back many centuries. Different cultures, different centuries, yet fishermen know each other's past, present, and future. They know why they build the boats they build and why they long to sail them. Perhaps they even share the same dreams. Building a boat is an expression of hope, a sign of faith that there are glory days to come. Building Bluenose was all that and more. Yet who would have known when they laid her keel, set her ribs and knees, and sheathed her planking? Who would have known they were building a national symbol and the fastest Grand Bank schooner to have ever sailed? The Bluenose had made herself undisputed champion of the North Atlantic fishing fleet, and that honor was never to be taken from her. What made her so fast?
The whole object in moving a vessel through the water is to move it as easily as possible. Where the hull meets the water, there's resistance. So you have to move that water, and to move that water, you need power. In a sailing vessel, the power comes from the sails. And if you're having to make waves to move your vessel, then you're wasting power.
Bluenose wasted little power. When Bluenose was launched on March 26, 1921 in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, she slid smoothly into the cold blue Atlantic. Finally, Bluenose was in her element.
Angus Walters has been credited with saying that the break of the masts and the position of the masts made Bluenose mathematically perfect. Now, I don't know of any mathematical formula that says this, but I do know that the position of the masts and the area of the sails have to be balanced with the area and the profile of the hull. And when that happens, a ship is balanced.
Sailing ships represent an ideal of unlimited power in harmony with nature, and none was more idyllic than Bluenose. Her incredible speed and unbeaten record as a racing schooner made Bluenose the stuff of legend. That's why Rick and the team are so eager to find her resting place and pay tribute to this magnificent ship. Tomorrow, they'll get their chance to chase their dream. Tomorrow, they will dive for Bluenose. Morning, and the island wakes to a celebration. Bruce Leeming arrived late last night after riding that storm for nearly 2 days. Rick contacts the sea hunters to give them the good news. The relief of seeing Bruce safe and sound gives everyone an appetite. Everyone but Bruce. He's still a little queasy after the rough ride. But like everyone else, he's anxious to gear up for today's dive. The base camp established, the search for Bluenose moves into the final stages, searching for the wreck itself. Fishermen raise sail to catch the outgoing tide the way they have for generations. The team catches the morning tide as well, tracking the last journey of Bluenose. There's a real science to sailing. The intended motion of a sailing vessel is the product of a great number of factors, most of which are invisible to a landsman.
A sail is an aerodynamic form, just like an aircraft wing is an aerodynamic form. When you look at an aircraft wing in profile, it's curved and it's flat underneath. And as it moves through the air, the wind traveling over the top has to go farther than that underneath. So it moves faster, and that creates lift. So as a sail billows out, that also creates lift, and in fact, it sucks the ship along. And that's why sailing ships don't always need the wind directly behind them to go.
20 years ago, the legend of Bluenose grabbed hold of Bruce Leaming's mind and heart and has never let go. He has been searching and researching for the resting place of that great ship, dreaming of it under full sail, out there, its shadow stroking the cresting sea. For Bruce, the Bluenose is a pure spirit on open water. Like the dolphins, Bluenose is a symbol of hope. Its story is an allegory for salvation. And it looks as though, right now, one symbol of hope is guiding Bruce to another. Based on the wreck report and on information from a letter from Wilson Barringer, the captain of the Bluenose when she went down, to Angus Walters, the team has identified the most likely location for finding wreckage from the famous schooner. The dive site lies along this lengthy curved reef. Mad reef's crisscrossing currents and strong surge have wrecked many a ship with a vengeance. Mad Reef is the livelihood of these local fishermen. It's their fishing grounds, and the team is conscious of not anchoring too close. These fishermen fish from dugout boats in a time-honored way. Fishing with hand-woven palm leaf fish traps is a simple way of fishing, much simpler than fishing the Grand Banks in the North Atlantic.
I was the troller on board the Bluenose. That's what he asked me to do. What a troller does, he cuts the fish across the throat and rips the belly. And then he passes them over to a chap called the header. He takes the stomach out, takes the head off, passes that back to the captain, and he splits them, takes the backbone out, throws them into a big tub of water, and from there they go down the whole of the vessel, and the salter is down there. He kenches them up and salt.
This was hard work, dangerous work. There are no braver men than the Nova Scotia fishermen who fished the Grand Banks. And there are no better built ships than the schooners these brave men sailed there and back. The best of these Grand Bank schooners was Bluenose.
She was a good ship, and I never seen anything that could go so fast through the water as that Bluenose coming home. Go, the blessed Father. And I really enjoyed every second of it because she could go through the water like a snake. Wonderful, wonderful sailing vessel. Oh. Only she was back. I'd join her again.
Bluenose held the record for the largest single catch of fish in Lunenburg throughout the 1920s. And when the series of races against the American boats were done for the day, Bluenose was always first to cross the finish line. Yet, for all her glory, Bluenose ended her days as a freighter in the Caribbean, where she ripped apart on this reef, somewhere off the island of Île aux Vaches. The shifting character of the reef and the vague description of her sinking on the reef make it hard to determine exactly where it was she went down. The water depth varies. It's as deep as 50 meters or 165 feet in some places, and as shallow as 2 meters or 7 feet in others. That makes getting in the water a little tricky, with the surge shifting the dive boats from one depth and into another. The Jamaican crew have been a great help. The divers will search in quadrants, methodically mapping as they go. Though they're searching for Bluenose, they note everything they find on the reef. The data collected from each dive will be compiled into an overall site map. Unless you know what you are looking for and how to look for it, The coral makes it difficult to identify wreckage on the reef. This reef once teemed with fish and crustaceans, less so in recent years because of dramatic climate changes and human exploitation. But here's something interesting. This long cylindrical shape is not a natural part of the reef. This is from a shipwreck. Mad Reef may have been wrecking ships since the days when Christopher Columbus claimed these Caribbean islands for Spain. This long cylindrical shape is grown over with coral. It looks like a cannon. Dating it will take the expertise of James Delgado, the team's marine archaeologist. Not far from the cannon, Rick finds an anchor. Within 10 meters, or almost 33 feet, Dave Harrison finds another anchor. And not far from that, Everett finds another. Bob Gerton takes digital photos of the cannon and the anchors for downloading into the data bank. The surge has picked up and is making it difficult for the divers to steady themselves. A school of Atlantic silversides flash over the reef. With the surge twisting the divers one way and the silversides swirling in the other, the effect is magical. It transforms the blue-green water into a shapeless brilliance. Topside, Rick records the global positioning of the cannon and anchors. He'll pass this information on to the team back at headquarters. The Sea Hunters now have another wreck, another mystery. The discovery of the anchor brings the team that much closer to finding Bluenose. It is time for some detective work on the surface.
Hi, Rick. Yeah, there was a big school of, I think, Atlantic silversides, very pretty. Mostly everything else we saw was what we've seen elsewhere, but there were some fairly large tangs that we haven't seen at other sites here. So
you think we should come back and have another one there?
if we can get calm conditions. I mean, this is impossible to shoot quality video with the way the surge is here. It's impossible.
I see that. We have to do that perhaps early in the morning or something.
That'd be the time to do it, but it's a pretty sight, and the cannons are very interesting. One, I think, is a howitzer, and the other one looks to me like a very large gun, like a 32-pounder or something.
All in all, it was a good day. The cannon and anchors indicate that this section of reef has been a curse for coastal shipping for a long time. The chainless anchors also suggest that wreckage too heavy for the islanders to salvage is left on the reef. That means the anchor from the Bluenose could still be here. Tomorrow, Rick plans to follow up on Bruce's suggestion that pieces of Bluenose had been scavenged from the wreck site and used as building material in the villages. Rick has also heard that the local priest, Father John Henault, has information which might pinpoint the wreck's location on the reef. Because there are no roads on Ile aux Vaches, only footpaths and horse trails, coastal watercraft is probably the fastest way for Rick and Dave Godet to reach the main village on the island. They have a local guide named Wagner. Wagner was the only islander who spoke English. The language here is Creole. Rick and Dave arrive on market day when the people travel from all corners of the island to catch up on local news and gossip. The waterfront is busy with the buyers and the sellers. Rick and Dave are all eyes for this spectacle of island life. Île Vache has been tortured by Haiti's blood-soaked history of war and revolution. Like Haiti, Île Vache had been terrorized by centuries of slavery, ground into poverty, and colored by the people's belief in voodoo. 12,000 people live on the island. It seems all of them at once have come to market. To these poor islanders, the timbers and brass fastenings from a shipwreck could have been valued like gold. Many would have brought their findings to the mission, because these people are also deep and dedicated believers in the church. The legend has it that the ship's diesel engine had been scavenged for a sawmill somewhere on the mainland, and that the beams and planks from Bluenose had been used to rebuild the mission church. Father John Henault welcomes Rick and Dave to the mission. He's been expecting them. Strangers on the island is big news. Father Henault also knows what Rick and Dave are looking for. He takes them to the church to see for themselves. Father Henault reconfirms that there is no sawmill on this island. But what about the beam and planks that may have come from Bluenose? The roof beams look nothing like what would have come from a Grand Bank schooner.
We heard a rumor, that's described by quite a few people, and they say some of the mast, the wood of the mast, would have ended up in a church.
Rick knew the odds of finding wreckage from Bluenose on the island were not very good, but the odds would have been zero had he not even looked. Meanwhile, Dave Harrison and Everett continue searching the reef. The surge over Mad Reef is a bit calmer. Today should be a good day to dive. They continue to search in quadrants, slowly, playing the bottom for anything and everything. They search square meter by square meter under the watchful eyes of a school of cuttlefish. On the lee side of the reef, Dave finds a metal mast from another wreck. This wreck has a metal hull. It was probably a small freighter of very modern vintage. The team has searched a kilometer or 0.6 miles of reef and discovered the debris of more than 30 wrecks. If they are to find Bluenose, they need more precise information.
As we were talking, I remembered something. I have a ladder here that's been around for years, and I don't know where it comes from, and I believe it's a ladder that comes from a boat. I had the boys bring it down, put it outside over here. If you want to look at it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you can tell me if it has any resemblance to a ladder from maybe the Bluenose or some kind of a vessel.
That's the ladder?
That is the ladder. That is the way I found it when I arrived here. I've never used it.
Definitely from a ship. Look at this.
Shipfire.
Brass?
Yeah.
That's probably a ladder going down to the hold.
Hardwood.
Hardwood? Well, it's definitely a ship's ladder.
Yeah.
This is definitely hardwood, mahogany, or... Right?
I understand.
It's authentic. And but please down like this.
Like that, right? And basically down like that. That's right. Are you interested in information about Ilash?
At the mission, Father Hanot has more intriguing information about Bluenose. Father Robert Margren, a missionary to Île-à-Vache in the 1940s, knew the legend of Bluenose and had collected information about her sinking. He was the one to whom islanders gave the ship's ladder. Father Margren noted on the map the location on the reef. Father Hanot has that map.
This island here, that you see, is Kai Alo.
That's the bigger one.
Kai Alo is the one we see straight out over here.
Yeah, that's that one, right?
Yeah. This is
And he said in his, Beringer said in his letter, he said that they went to an island north, which is exactly from where the wreck is.
Right.
Rick recalls the description of the wreck and sinking of Bluenose by Wilson Beringer. He compares this description with Father Magren's location on the map. Father Magren was one of the few people who marked her location down on a map. Bluenose had run her last and greatest race in 1938, beating her longtime American rival, the Gertrude L. Thibault. For all her racing success, and though her picture was a national emblem stamped on every Canadian dime, Canadians turned their backs on this proud ship. They let her be sold to the West Indies Trading Company to become a tramp freighter in the Caribbean. When she sailed from Lunenburg Harbor for the last time, Captain Angus Walters stood on the wharf and literally wept.
That was the most terrible thing that ever happened to this port. Sold that Bluenose, my oh my, for a song. And when she went, it broke his heart. There's no question about it. And it hurt me too, I'm telling you. So I loved that ship, and so did he.
When Bluenose sailed the Caribbean in the 1940s, the world was at war. Bluenose was used as a freighter, carrying rum, sugar, bananas, and war supplies between the United States and Caribbean ports. Once, while Bluenose was running aviation fuel and dynamite between Port Everglades and Havana, Cuba, a German U-boat broke the surface right beside her.
The hatch in the conning tower opened, and the U-boat captain emerged. He hailed the Bluenose and demanded in perfect Oxford English, "Just what the bloody hell are you doing out here?" The captain of the Bluenose, staring down the U-boat's gun deck, shouted back, "We're fishing, of course." There was a slight pause. Then the U-boat captain replied, "You're the Bluenose. It's only because I love that vessel that I don't blow you up right now. Get the hell to shore and don't come back. The next time it will be a different story." And with that, he closed the hatch and the U-boat disappeared. That night, it was worldwide respect and her fame that saved the Bluenose.
Yet one wonders if a German torpedo would have been a more dramatic and fitting ending for Bluenose than what finally happened. Voodoo is a religion of magic and spells, of Hungan priests and Mambo priestesses, of blood sacrifice, spirit possession, and rhythmic dancing, veiled in secrecy and silenced by fear. Could it be the people of Île-à-Vache were practicing voodoo the night Bluenose hit the reef? Were they praying to their gods to bring them wealth and happiness? Was the wreck of Bluenose the answer to their prayers? A gift from the gods? We can only surmise. Bluenose has been sent out to fetch a cargo of bananas that couldn't wait. She reaches Mad Reef at 7:40 p.m. It is plenty dark. The wind is blowing up swells and rain cuts visibility. Worse, someone has turned out the Point de l'Est beacon. Shore pirates or voodoo worshippers? Captain Wilson Beringer wrote Angus Walters a letter explaining what happened that fateful night. He wrote,
"The passage between the reefs is about 2.5 miles wide. We used to always make this passage in daylight, but orders were to proceed, and all efforts were made to make this point before dark. but no such luck. We had a half hour before I expected to sight a small island, but as the squall broke, it lightened up a bit, and at 7:40, I sighted breakers.
Bluenose hits the reef, splitting her timber and breaking her back. Mad Reef is like an attacking shark. The coral digs deep into the wooden hull and rips open a hole for the sea to pour in. She was a salvage's dream, hung on the reef like butchered beef, the answer to a voodoo prayer. The anecdotal information provided by Father Magrum points the hunt for Bluenose in a different direction. This morning, the team gets the calm water they were hoping for. The new dive site is south of Pirate Island.
Hi, Rick?
Rick?
This anchor matches the one that we've been taping that was supposed to be from the Bluenose, only it's bigger.
Wonderful, Everett. You get a very big kiss for that one.
Can you just buy me a donut or something?
Oh, it has to be a kiss.
Tell him I'm back in the water.
He says he's back and he can't hear you, man.
The new evidence from Father Magrum's map pays off. The excitement is obvious. Everett's discovery has Rick gearing up to dive.
Okay, I see you later.
A style of anchor on Bluenose was generally called a folding stock Admiralty pattern. They were common to most Grand Bank schooners. What was not so common was a Grand Bank schooner sinking on this reef off the coast of Haiti in mid-20th century. Does this anchor mark her final resting place? Dave sketches the anchor and takes measurements. The shallow water is another reason for the absence of other debris. Salvages could get to a wreck hung on the reef in such shallow water, and what wreckage salvages left, storms would have battered to pieces. The rest is probably buried under the coral. Rick sees something unusual about this anchor, a ring on the shank. This was not a characteristic of anchors used on a Grand Bank schooner. Rick and Bob Gerton later compiled digital photos of the anchors the team has found over the last few days. These images are relayed back to the headquarters to be analyzed. Except for the ring on the shank, they're identical.
Well, all the data's come in. I've looked at the measured drawings, and I've gone through the photos, and this is a reef covered with anchors.
You can see that.
They range in age from 18th century to this guy. He's early 19th century. It's a pattern that's developed about 1837. That's mid-19th century. But this guy, number 9. Let's pull him over. That's a folding stock Admiralty pattern. And that's a type of anchor used into the 20th century, and it was used on Grand Banks fishing schooners. There's a problem. It's this ring right here.
That's the same anchor.
It is, and that's not a feature that's shown on Bluenose's anchors now. Could have been added later, but we just don't know. It's a problem. But we're in the ballpark. That's a candidate.
The team discovered the anchor south of Pirate Island, on that part of the reef where Captain Wilson Beringer and Father Robert Margren said Bluenose had gone down. Coincidence? Probably not. The evidence, though not conclusive, is quite convincing. This coral reef, lying southeast of Pirate Island, off the island of Île aux Vaches, is likely the last resting place of Bluenose.
Feel her bow rise free of Mother Sea in a sunburst cloud of spray that stings the cheek while the rigging will speak of sea miles.
Bluenose was a blend of industry and beauty, of practical know-how and magic. She epitomized the grace and strength of the Grand Bank schooners and became an international symbol of a grand and glorious era, which has now faded into the past.
Bluenose to me is the same as brother and sisters, no question in my mind. I just loved that ship. I loved every movement she made. God bless her.
Who will know the Bluenose in the sun? Dutchmen's toys are the Gloucester boys with their token bit of cod. They snapped their spars and strained to pass her by, but she left them all behind. Now her namesake daughter remains to show what she has been, what every schoolboy remembers and will not come again. To think she's the last of the Grand Bank schooners that fed so many men. Who will know the Bluenose in the sun? Who will know the Bluenose in the sun? Who will know the Bluenose in the sun? Who will know the Bluenose in the sun?
And now it's your turn to get up off that couch and go into the deserts, go into the mountains, go under the lakes, the rivers, and the seas, and search for history. You'll never have a more rewarding adventure.
Join us again as we search the oceans of the world for lost and famous shipwrecks. Another true adventure with the Sea Hunters.